Hello, all, and welcome to tonight's non-alcoholic beer review. 6 o'clock, a bit later than I usually do these afternoon beer reviews, but it's non-alcoholics. It doesn't really matter. So this is the last one I'm going to be doing, and I'm dubbing this one "I'm Going Deaf Review" because I'm going deaf. Long story there. Maybe I'll tell it sometime. But yeah. So this has been the hardest dry January I've ever done. A lot of things. Pay attention to the news. Obviously, things are not going well in this world, which kind of relates to the fact that I'm probably not going to be doing as much reviews as I did in the past. I've only been doing one review a week for dry January, and it's probably going to continue like that once it starts up because I just don't have the financial resources available to review, to do two reviews a week. Usually, I have like one thing and then like a sixer of something that's cheaper. I'm pretty much down to just reviewing a sixer a week. So, you know, inflation, what can I say? Anyways, what are we reviewing today? We are reviewing Clausthaler, Clausthaler, original non-alcoholic beer, 0.5 ABV. So it's not true non-alcoholic. There is still residual alcohol content. And I guess this one was brewed fairly recently. It actually has a date on the back that makes sense. So July 15th, 2021. So about 7 months. It's in a green bottle, so as you know, it's probably already going to be slightly skunked. Well, what's interesting with these non-alcoholic beers is they have the nutritional information. So 96 calories, pretty much all carbohydrates. Without much further ado, let's just go and get straight to this, shall we? So non-alcoholic version of a Euro Pale Lager. Forms a nice foamy white head, clear golden yellow, redolent of sweet grains, maybe apple or pear juice, and some skunk. Light skunk, though, it's not that bad. Biscuity malts, very sweet, almost honeyed, and just a whisper of old world style noble hops. So slight spice, slight floral, but mostly a malt show in the nose. Retaining its head, which is more than I can say for a lot of non-alcoholic beers. And onto the palate now, shall we? Mild carbonation bite. Much thicker mouthfeel than most non-alcoholic beers. Still slightly watery, but thicker. Very, very sweet. There's a lasting sweetness on the palate. Bit of hop bitterness up front, but it vanishes towards the mids, leaving just sort of maltiness on the long finish. Pretty refreshing. Just a brief bit of skunkiness in the front to mids. It's a bit heavier on the nose rather than on the palate, but overall not very light struck at all. As I'm drinking it, it seems like it's being a little bit more hoppy. There's a bit more bitterness in the finish now. All in all, very beer-like. Again, I think this one might fool someone if they weren't paying attention. But if you're paying attention, you're going to be able to tell from the taste that it's non-alcoholic. It's just ever so slightly watery. It is better than many of the non-alcoholic beers that I've tried, but not as good as the best one I've had so far, which is Erdinger, which was a non-alcoholic wheat beer. That one, you could probably get fooled. If this one, you're not going to get fooled. But you're also not going to be let down. It's got a decent amount of beer taste to it. It's hitting that spot for me, that beer taste spot. Beer being, of course, my alcoholic drink of choice. What follows beer? Something I actually don't review that often. Port wine, because I'm poor. Port wine's expensive. Yeah, yeah. So this one seems to be one that's actually pretty easy to find. So I would actually probably recommend this if you're looking for a non-alcoholic beer and you want something that is not so watery or not so much pure hop water. Granted, there's much more sweetness than you'd be used to, even for the pale lager style, but that's what happens with a lot of these non-alcoholic beers. In order to, you know, have that illusion of body, you have to have a bit more sugars. Otherwise, it's going to be watery, you know? It's just a trade-off between sugars and alcohols. Sugars get converted to alcohol. If you pull the alcohol out, then it's going to be watery, you know. So you got to have some of those sugars there to restore it. And I think it's more important to have that body, that mouth feel that is reminiscent of beer, than to have something that is drier, has the drier feel of beer, because the body and the mouth feel is really what makes, that beer sensation. You can kind of get past the rest of it, if you know what I mean. So, Clausthaler, original, non-alcoholic. I'd rate it number 2 of the non-alcoholic beers I've tried so far on my various dry Januaries. Note that I haven't really been reviewing craft non-alcoholic beers. Next dry January, if, money and economy permitting, I will be mail ordering some craft non-alcoholic beers and reviewing those to see what those are like, because I'm actually really curious see what the craft iterations of the non-alcoholic style are like. So far, I've only been reviewing American macro lagers and German macro lagers, non-alcoholic style. Well, except for Erdinger, that was a Weiss beer. But yeah, that is your non-alcoholic beer review for this afternoon, evening, and thankfully the last one for the month of January. I can't wait to be getting back to reviewing real beers. Just because it's been very difficult to be sober. Just because it's been a rough month. A rough 2 years, really. Cheers, folks.